This is a 50-watt CO2 laser that I built completely from scratch, and it is a game changer. In the last video on this, I assembled the frame, installed the motors, and the laser. In this video, I'm finishing the electronics, the water cooling, the air assist, as well as an enclosure. The cut area on this thing is 22 by 32 inches, so it's big enough to fit an entire piece of foam board and has enough power to cut through a half-inch sheet of plywood. So let's get started building. An enclosure is really critical for a laser like this because it allows you to extract all the cutting fumes, as well as keep any rogue laser beams semi-contained. The whole thing is made out of 2 sheets of half-inch plywood, which cost you an arm and a leg these days. And then I painted it 2 different shades of gray because, you know, aesthetics. This is absolutely the world's worst paint job, but it'll be fine. I also used some 1/4-inch acrylic to make windows. Now I do have a complete 3D model for this build, which I will include in the description of this video, as well as a list of parts I bought. Next up, I'm ready to install some electronics. All the stepper motors in this build run off of a 24-volt power supply, and then there's a separate power supply for the laser tube. For the control board, I was originally going to use this larger board with tons of inputs and outputs, and I was going to use Marlin to run everything, because allegedly Marlin supports laser cutters. However, in actuality, it's a huge process trying to get Marlin to run a laser cutter and to connect with Lightburn and everything correctly, so I ended up just switching to a simpler board which just runs Garble. Now most professional laser cutters have what's called a DSP controller, and this is really the correct thing to use. However, they're very expensive. Although they do a better job for like high-speed rastering, most of what I'm doing is just going to be simple cutting jobs, so it shouldn't actually make that big of a difference for me. If you're going to end up doing a lot of rastering, then you may want to consider going with a DSP type system. It's also worth mentioning that I'm not going to include a wiring diagram in the files I give out. That's mostly because I don't use one myself, and also if you're going to make something like this, you should do your own research and learn how to wire it so you can troubleshoot problems in the future. Also, laser cutters use a lot of wall power and actually very high voltage. I think the laser power supply is like 24 kilovolts, so it's extremely dangerous, so do all this at your own risk. With everything wired up, I can install the air assist, which is just an aquarium pump for my build. An air assist will prevent smoke from going up inside the laser head. If smoke or soot gets onto the lens that focuses the laser, it can actually cause damage to that lens, so it's important to blow air through the laser head to keep any smoke away. It also will help you cut deeper into things, and it just clears things out of the way for the laser beam. Before we get any further into the build, I want to take a minute to tell you about today's sponsor, Brilliant.org. Brilliant is an online learning platform that is an excellent way to interactively learn math, science, and computer science topics. They have thousands of lessons on STEM topics, and keep adding more. I've recently been going through this course called Beautiful Geometry. It talks about repeating geometric patterns, which I find really interesting. I liked how when you get a question wrong, which I do a lot, there's an explanation that tells you why a different answer is the correct one. This helped me learn and set me up to succeed on future questions. To get started for free, visit brilliant.org/Michael or click on the link in the description. The first 200 people to use my link will get 20% off a Brilliant annual subscription. Now let's get back to the lasers. Next up, I have to install the mirrors and align the laser. Oh, that's dead nuts. There's a lot of trial and error in this, but there's some great tutorials on YouTube showing you how to do it. Now I'm not gonna lie, building this thing took forever. So let's just skip to the end and I'll give you an overview of the final machine. This thing has a total cut area of about 22 by 32 inches, and I'm currently using a 50-watt laser tube. It's got an LCD control panel on the front, which allows you to manually move and home the machine, or even engrave from an SD card if that's your thing, but I won't judge. A separate switch turns on the laser power supply, followed by a switch for the air assist and water cooling. The water cooling is done using a 5-gallon bucket of distilled water, and the air assist is just an aquarium pump. Lastly, a switch turns on a fan, which takes all the fumes and smoke inside the enclosure and vents it through a flexible hose out the window. This feature is awesome and pretty much allows you to operate this thing anywhere in your house. And then my favorite feature is this motorized movement of the Z-axis. It allows you to move the workpiece at 2 different speeds to the right height to meet the focus point of the laser. There's also a switch to turn on and off the LEDs, but I don't know why you'd ever want to turn them off. Alright, so this thing is cool and everything, but what can it actually do? And why do you need one? So let's put this thing to the test. I made a YouTube post and asked what type of test people would want to see. It seems like most people were interested in what this thing can cut. So I tested 3, 5, and 12mm plywood, along with acrylic and foam board. As a baseline, I'm comparing it to one of these diode laser engravers. These things are much cheaper than CO2 lasers, but tend to have less power. This is a 10-watt model made by a company called Comgrow. They sent this thing to me months ago, and I've used it for a little bit of engraving stuff, which it does pretty well, but let's see what it can cut. First up is 3mm plywood. Both lasers really had no trouble cutting this. For all these tests, I'm judging it based on if the laser can cut through the material in a single pass. Next up is some 5mm plywood. This is the really cheap, like single ply stuff that's used for underlayment, so the CO2 laser had no problem cutting through it very quickly. Surprisingly, the diode laser was also able to cut through this. I had to lower the speed significantly, but that makes sense because the laser has about 1/5 the power of the CO2 laser. Moving up to 12mm plywood, or 1/2 inch for those that use Freedom units, the diode laser was not able to cut through this even though I really slowed it down. With enough passes it maybe would have made it through, but in a single pass it only made it about halfway. The CO2 laser really surprised me here and it was able to cut through no problem in a single pass, so that was a really awesome result. Alright, next up is foam board. This stuff was really made popular by the guys over at Flight Test. They are also fellow Ohioans, so go check them out if for some reason you haven't already. Anyway, foam board's really great for building things like RC planes. And they actually have a ton of free plans you can get, which you can cut out manually or with a laser cutter if you have one. You can also find basically the same foam board at the Dollar Tree, which may be cheaper. The CO2 laser cuts through this foam no problem and leaves a really good finish without any burning. You can see how with a laser cutter and some hot glue you can make some really simple but effective designs very quickly. Now, unfortunately, diode lasers really struggle with foam board. They tend to melt the internal foam and burn the paper, which leads to pretty unusable results. Diode lasers also really struggle with acrylic. I think most of the energy just goes through the material rather than getting absorbed. Even though this acrylic is slightly tinted, it still barely left a mark.
'Tis but a scratch.
Whereas a CO2 laser can cut right through the acrylic, which is what I used it for in my last video. Now, one last thing I wanted to test was recommended to me by Robert, who asked to see the laser's sintering abilities. Now, the only thing I had on hand was some aluminum powder, so let's see if it can sinter that. I started off with a diode laser, just to see what would happen. I apologize for the lower quality video. As you can see, the aluminum is reflecting a ton of the light, so I was a little afraid to point my camera at it. Surprisingly, it kinda worked. The powder was at least somewhat stuck together, and the surface sounded like metal. However, the layer was extremely fragile, so I don't think it completely melted the metal. I also tried this on the CO2 laser with the air assist turned off, of course. It pretty much had the same results. I believe the lasers on a lot of metal printers are in the 500 watt range and use a much smaller wavelength beam, so I don't think there's any hope of making a metal printer with this, unfortunately. Alright, so do you need a laser cutter? As with all new tools, the answer is of course yes. But what type do you need? A humongous CO2 laser like this? Or maybe you can get away with one of these diode lasers. The conclusion I've come to is if you're engraving things like wood, or maybe etching your logo into like something that's painted, then this will do just fine. However, if you're more focused on cutting, then a CO2 laser is really the right tool to have. They can cut a wider variety of materials that are much thicker, and they can do it all much faster. Now it comes with its drawbacks though. CO2 lasers only turn on at a certain percentage of their power. Therefore, the minimum power of your laser may actually be too much for some engraving jobs. So for engraving, these type of diode lasers are really the right tool for the job. So long story short, as with everything, it just depends on what you're doing. For what I want to do in the future, a CO2 laser is the right tool to have. Alright, so I hope this video was somewhat helpful and interesting if you're looking into laser stuff. I look forward to using this a lot more in future projects. And it is currently December 19th. So everybody have a very Merry Christmas, and I'll see you next year.